Welcome, jesters. I bet a lot of you are familiar with something Arthur C. Clarke said a long time ago. I actually don't know when, that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. I'm pretty sure this ended up being said by Spock at some point in Star Trek. But I think we really need to have a different version of it when talking about or referencing our friends on the left. And it would go something like, any sufficiently advanced thought is indistinguishable from folly. Because if you do regularly interact with any of our friends on the left, you will see that this is how they perceive the world. This is how they process the world. This is about as far as they can process the world, which is why they seem to be so beholden with these rather absurdly fantastical notions, that come up in the political discourse. I think the reason is very simple, actually. I actually don't think it's that complicated. Psychologists or people that study the brain will tell you that, the average person has 6 spots, in memory to think about things at a time. But if you, again, have engaged with our friends on the left, you will realize that they have maybe 2, which means they get lost very easily. So any sufficiently advanced thought they are simply do not have the ability to comprehend it. They actually get lost. Any reasoning that takes more than 2 steps, and all they will remember is the last thing you said. That's it, right? So when you try to explain even the most basic economics, we get frustrated because they just don't get it, and they never will get it, which is why they keep repeating the same failed policies over and over again, trying to explain to them why raising the minimum wage has led to job losses in California. They cannot connect the two because it's actually like 3 or 4 steps to get there. Now, for us, it's perfectly fine. This is an obvious economic consequence, but to them, completely lost, absolutely lost every time, right? They will, talk about the boogeyman of the billionaires and evil capitalists and how capitalism is failing, end state capitalism, whatever folly they come up with, right? Just try to explain to them the Southern strategy, right? It completely lost. It is completely lost on them. There is probably no way they will be able to understand at the macro political level what happened over there. And you can see it. I know I talked about this before. You absolutely can see it with how they talk about how they perceive President Trump. Now, we all know, and we all love him for this, he has a very unique way of speaking, especially extemporaneously, right? He doesn't really wander, but he'll switch lanes quite frequently. He'll talk about one subject, and he'll jump over to another, and then he'll come back to the first one. And we have no problem following him. I have no problem. I know exactly what he says. I've been listening to this man for, 10 years now, and I understand every word. But to them, just changing topics, they completely lose the plot. Absolutely not. When he switches back, they do not remember anything he said previously. Or, and this just happened, he'll describe something, then later on, maybe in the same speech or maybe, at a different interaction later on, he'll describe the same thing just a little bit differently, right? Or make a statement that is just slightly different from what he said before, meaning this basically the same thing. But because they're different, our friends on the left simply cannot rationalize this. They cannot rationalize the two, right? One that they keep bringing up is, he said that our goal in Iran was never regime change. Right, then he'll turn around and be like, oh, well, we've had a regime change in Iran. And they go off saying, well, he lied to us. He said there was not could be a regime change, right? Or regime change, what do you mean? The government's still there. Yeah. Now, we know exactly what he meant, right? No, the goal was never regime change. If it changed, that's fine. But then again, yes, the regime changed. The government's still there, but the leaders of the regime have changed, right? They just cannot understand this nuance. What I mean is, when you are engaging with our friends on the left, especially in a political discourse, just remember you are right. You are absolutely 100% right. And what frustrates you about listening to them and talking to them and debating them, you are feeling it correctly. Yes, you see it too. We all do. It's not you. It is them, which is why their leaders, like the Type 4 Democrats, always have to use these most simple and most repetitive sound bites over and over and over again, because they know, at least, the leaders, they know that the leftist mind can only hold those 2 little nuggets of information. So they have to constantly make sure they're filled with, the type of propaganda, very simple propaganda, that will keep them. We'll keep them the sheep. We'll keep them in the cult. So, yeah, it's just a reminder. Maybe we'll do this again in a couple months when something else as crazy comes up. But yeah. They literally do not have the capacity to understand President Trump. And, they don't know that I'm right.